Welcome to No Nonsense Nonprofits. Hi, I'm Sandy Ray, founder of Sandra E. Ray, CPA, where we alleviate financial headaches so that you can create a bigger impact. Today, we're talking about the statement of cash flows. Now, this is a critical report for any organization, especially for nonprofit organizations. It gives us a detailed account of our cash inflows and outflows over a specific period of time. And it helps us to understand our cash position and manage our finances effectively. With the other core financial reports, the statement of financial position, the statement of activities, and the statement of functional expenses, it makes up the prescribed financial statements so that we are compliant with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. Now, the statement of cash flow, again, reports inflows and outflows over a specific period of time, but it's divided into three sections: the operating section, the investing section, and the financing section. And I want to take a look at each of these sections separately. For operating sections or operating activities, now this is where we report our cash inflows and outflows as they relate to our core operations. For nonprofits, this is going to be our income from our grants, our donations, and our program service fees. And the cash outflows are going to be spent on salaries, supplies, and other operational expenditures. Now, this does not include in-kind contributions, as in-kind contributions have no effect on cash. Our investing activities, this section covers transactions related to the acquisition of long-term assets. Now, this can be equipment, it can be property, or it could be investments. You could be purchasing a new piece of equipment, or maybe we have dividend income from the stocks that we have, or the proceeds from the sale of that stock. This is where we actually have to report proceeds from the sale and purchases of stock. We don't get to just report the gain or loss. We have to know exactly what the gross proceeds were and what our purchases were, not just, like I said, the net income. The third section is the financing section. Now, this includes cash flows related to borrowing and repayment of debt. When we're looking at, do we have a loan? For example, our EIDL loans are going to come under this financing section. But also, we could be having cash outflow from return of unused grants. We could have cash inflows from funders that want the money to be used as reserve or reserve funds. And this brings up endowment funds. Contributions for endowment funds are considered a financing activity, but endowment funds really affect all three sections. The financing activity is the contribution. The investing activity is, again, that income from investments. We use those contributions to purchase. That income is going to be coming in on the investing section. And then if any of those proceeds from the investments are used for programs or other operational activities, that is recorded as outflows in the operating section. So endowment funds are going to cover all three sections. So you really have to look at the activity specifically to determine which section it's going to go into. Now, as we said, these reports are really important to us as nonprofit. We rely heavily on donations and grants and fundraising activities, and these can be predictable, and they ebb and flow throughout the year. So understanding when the money's coming in and when it needs to be going out, that's the job of the statement of cash flows, and that helps us manage this uncertainty and those ups and downs in our cash flow, so that we can make informed decisions about budgeting, investing, and financing, not only for the year, but from month to month or perhaps from week to week. Let's talk about how the statement of cash flows helps us with our budgeting. It seems obvious. If we understand our cash inflows and our cash outflows, We can do more detailed, accurate budgeting, like I said, on a monthly or perhaps even weekly basis to ensure that there is enough cash to cover our expenditures. For investing, these cash flow statements help us to understand when we need to pull money out of investment accounts or when we have enough cash in reserves that we could tie up some funds into some investments, whether it be in a certificate of deposit, and maybe it's only a 6 month, maybe it's a 5 year. These statements help us make those determinations. And then finally, financing. If we're going to be struggling with cash flow over the next several months, do we need to look at taking out a line of credit? Do we need to approach a grantor and say, hey, we need more money to meet our financial needs? Are you willing to give us an operational grant, for example? Many times organizations have lots of cash, but it's restricted and they can't buy a postage stamp, but they have tons of money for programs. It seems silly, but that can happen to us, and we don't want that to happen. We have to understand our cash flow in order to do that. We also need to understand that if we do have loans and debts, that the bottom line isn't necessarily our statement of activities, is not necessarily the cash that we have available to make those payments on those loans. The statement of cash flows helps us to understand what that commitment is. So the statement of cash flows helps us with our transparency and our accountability, as those are critical when it comes to maintaining the trust of our donors, our grantors, and other stakeholders. The statement of cash flow provides a clear picture of how funds are being used, which enhances our transparency. It also demonstrates that we are able to show that we are managing our resources responsibly. And then finally, we want to talk about financial health. The statement of cash flows is an essential tool for helping us assess our financial health. It reveals trends that can indicate potential problems or potential opportunities. For example, if we're going to have consistent negative cash flow from operations, this may be a signal for financial difficulties to come. Positive cash flow indicates a healthy financial position. I want to talk about an example. Let's look at an organization that has, over the past year, experienced a significant increase in donations and grants. However, this increase in revenue hasn't changed their net cash flow problem. By looking at the statement of cash flows, they discovered that their operating expenses had also significantly increased, primarily due to the expansion of a program and the hiring of additional staff. Taking on that new grant for the new program did not help our cash flow, our liquidity at all. And to make things worse, this organization took on a cost reimbursement grant for this program. That, as with cost reimbursement grants, we have to incur the expense. Sometimes we have to actually pay the expense and then submit for reimbursement and wait for the funds to come back to us. Basically, we have to have that cash up front to get us started. Once that flow of getting that money from the grantor, from the cost reimbursement claims that we're submitting comes in, then we do a little bit better. But we have to know what that time frame is going to be. By looking at our cash flows, this organization knew that every claim form had to be submitted within 15 days of the end of the month, or they were going to be struggling next month to pay the bills. So that's just one example of what a statement of cash flows can help you with. And I hope that this insight will help you understand that statement a little bit better and start using it to predict your cash inflows and cash outflows, to help you with your budgeting, prioritize your spending, and just overall develop a plan for improving your cash flow. Now, these statements are a vital tool, and they provide crucial insights to cash inflows and outflows, helping organizations manage your finances and maintain your transparency and accountability. And then finally, to assess your financial health. By doing this, you can ensure your financial stability and be able to continue to fulfill your mission. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions on this or other topics, please put them in the comment section below. Of course, we always appreciate your likes, and I want to thank you for joining me today. Remember that creating a bigger impact starts with stopping the nonsense. If you're dealing with nonsense in your nonprofit organization, we'd love to help you cut through the noise.